Hello everyone, we're going to be trialling a sort of weekly VR show, sort of news-based stuff. Talking about the games mostly, a little bit of tech. We're going to be focusing on sort of game releases, news, any updates from big games as well. Yeah. Sound good, Jamie?
Yeah, sounds great to me.
Jamie sounds very
I'm on board already.
What should we talk about first, Jamie? Should we talk about your favourite thing?
Let's talk about everyone's favourite VR game at the minute, Beat Sabre.
Yes.
So what's happening with Beat Sabre, Rob?
Well, what's happening with Beat Sabre? Not a lot in terms of officially. There's been a little update which fixed a few little bits and pieces. I did a height setting so you can play properly now.
Oh, cool.
Because I think people, like really short people, were probably struggling with the top ones or just trying to get that right. So I think it's nice to have like a height adjustment thing.
Sure.
But what I wanted to talk about quickly was the sort of custom updates, the custom songs that have become, over the last week, definitely a ton of them out there now, and they're getting better and better. Have you played any custom ones, Jamie?
I have. I've played some Imagine Dragons. I've played Take On Me. Was that one?
That was one, but that was too hard for me. So I can't believe you would have done that very well.
When I say play, I've attempted.
Turn off failure and just flail your arms around.
That's what I try and do in life.
There's a new website called BeatSaver.com.
I thought that was a typo.
No, that's a real.
There's a new website.
It does say on our teleprompter. It is spelled wrong on the teleprompter as well.
Okay.
BeatSaver.com, which is basically a list of all of the songs. So you don't have to go on Discord anymore, which is handy if you don't want to load up a Discord account. You do still have to patch stuff. You have to manually patch the game's exe, so it's not like going to Steam Workshop. It's still a bit of a pain. But more songs. I think that's really good considering people were worried a couple of weeks ago that it doesn't have enough songs. I don't think anyone has to worry about that anymore. I think there's going to be a ton to go.
Awesome.
And it's going to make you healthy.
Beat Saber's going to make me healthy.
It's going to make you, personally, less overweight, really, because people have been coming to me...
They've been making comments,
concerned fans. We have 9 subs now.
Yeah.
All 5 of them that aren't us came to me and said, Jamie's fat.
Jamie's fat. He needs to do some...
we can't get him in frame.
He needs to do a VR equivalent of tennis.
Yes,
which
is
turns
exactly
out
what Beat Saber is.
Beat Saber is apparently just as good for burning calories as tennis.
This is the VR Institute telling us this. They do reasonably scientific information about how good VR games are for working out. And that puts Beat Saber pretty much in the top, one of the top places for VR games. The other 2 that were like running, I think, were Hollow Point and Thrill of the Fight, which we're going to be playing soon because we're going to be working on seeing if we can do a sort of fitness VR thing. So we're playing both of those games pretty soon. So yeah, a couple of quick other updates on other games. There's Budget Cuts, which has unfortunately been delayed. It's coming out now at the end of the month. Have you heard about Budget Cuts at all?
I think I have. Remind me what genre it is.
It's sort of a stealthy action shooty thing.
And can you like teleport under doors or
yes,
something? Is it that one?
It looks very, and it's been sort of quoted by I think Kotaku as being very Valve single-player, Valve Portal style game.
That's a pretty good compliment.
It's a pretty good compliment.
Yeah.
People seem to like it. The early press builds have been very positive. And it was coming out, I think, this week, and now it's coming out at the end of the month.
That's definitely something to look forward to, though.
Yes, I don't think that a 2-week delay is going to annoy anyone at all, really. I mean, if it's going to be more polished, then brilliant. The other update is for the game of Onwards, which has had a few problems. So they had Onwards is this sort of big kind of military-style shooter.
Okay.
They had a big update this week. They did new maps, they had a whole bunch of lighting changes, and they rolled them all back again. Unfortunately, there were big performance problems.
Technical stuff.
They say they're going to fix that as soon as they can. Moving on, quick sort of overall tech news. The head of development at Oculus, engineering development, sorry, has sort of been encouraging devs away from exclusivity from the Rift. He said, we don't want exclusivity. We want the VR to thrive, but VR is a niche, and you don't want to be a niche within a niche. Ship everywhere, Oculus, PlayStation VR, Steam, and mobile if you can. Do whatever you can to get as many eyes on it as possible.
That's an interesting point, because obviously these sort of headsets, they need their exclusives to draw you in. Why you want an Oculus over a Vive or the other way around?
Yeah, it's really tricky.
But it's also obviously a new industry that we need to sort of see grow a bit, get more.
Yeah, everyone wants the industry to grow enough to sustain indie developers, which it isn't quite there yet. So if you're an indie, I think it's still tough to get the amount of money you need because the audience is so small. But at the same time, if you're a headset developer, you want people playing on your headset. And exclusive are the best way to do that. Certainly worked for Sony this generation, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
No one really knows what's going on at Microsoft with Xbox and the lack of games, and everyone's really applauding, God of War, Until Dawn, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Uncharted,
all the Uncharted, like everything on PlayStation. So it is really tricky. Like, if you want to fund a game, you want it to be you're paying for the game. You don't want people to be playing it on systems that aren't yours. So it's an interesting sort of difference that might make a difference. I mean, right now, they're still announcing games. They announced this sort of VR spy game Defector, and that's going to be a Rift exclusive, and that was only last month.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's like a new thing that's happening that hasn't quite come across yet.
It's tough though, because if Oculus decide to do this, but then PlayStation VR keep up exclusives, Vive keep up exclusives.
Yeah, and obviously the PSVR are going to. They're going to keep having exclusives. I don't know. I would be happy to see no more exclusives ever, but I think this is more sort of a nice thing to say to developers than a reality right now for Oculus. In terms of announcements, there's been a big announcement for Star Trek Bridge Crew. They've announced that there will be basically all the TNG stuff in there, the Next Generation Bridge, also the Romulan and the Borg as enemies. It's going to include TNG uniforms and 2 new ongoing voyages.
Does that excite you, Rob?
It does.
I know as a Star Trek.
That it doesn't excite you, Jamie, because you're 13 years old.
Will I get to be Patrick Stewart?
You'll get to pretend to be whoever you want.
Okay. To be fair,
but you will be doing it on the Next Generation Bridge.
It's first person, so as far as I'm aware.
You can be, yeah. You could be
Patrick Stewart.
You're a bit short, I think, but.
Well, just the height sensitivity. Get the room scale right.
I think it's really cool. It's definitely my favourite Star Trek. And Borg are my favourite Star Trek enemies. So it's a nice big fat update. Unfortunately, just talking about exclusives, it is coming out to the PSVR a month before everyone else, or I think maybe more than that. I think it's more like 3 months. So you can't play that on the Vive yet. And we are going to cover that one when we get more VRs, and we can play as a whole Bridge Crew, which is going to be
fun.
Basically my dream. And finally, Detached is coming to the PSVR. This is one of the most graphically impressive PC VR games around. It did quite well last year. It was in early access for a while, and it's moving to PSVR. This was originally a PvP multiplayer game, but a single player mode was developed, so now it has both. And the devs have already stated that this could sort of trigger motion sickness.
Oh.
What they've said specifically, yeah, I know, it's like this is an extreme VR experience.
That's the worst thing. I don't want to hear that when I'm like considering a VR purchase.
It's an interesting thing to put in your press release where it's like, guys, here's our new game. By the way, you will throw up.
Okay.
Rarer on the PSVR to have that problem because it's a bit more polished, generally speaking.
Yeah, it's more consumer, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. They've mentioned that there will be dramatic acceleration.
Dramatic.
Free falling, twisting and rolling. Even with a 90 FPS frame rate. It is not recommended for VR sensitive players.
VR sensitive?
Yeah, like sensitive in the sense of vomitous, I think. I thought that was an interesting disclaimer. It's in space, so there's a lot going on. I feel like it's not going to be as much of a problem as they're making it out because you're in a cockpit. So you're, by default, you don't feel like you're moving. I think a lot of people have problems with the momentum, the moving forward when your brain is feeling like you're meant to be walking.
To be fair, they've been upfront about it. So
that's
not necessarily a bad thing.
And you can always refund it, I suppose, if you do throw up a lot. It'd be interesting to see how the graphics work on it as well, because it was a very nice looking PC game, and obviously the PSVR is significantly less powerful. So how much they're going to need to downgrade that, we will find out soon. Okay, those were the sort of big updates for this week. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to work on the format a bit, aren't we, Jamie?
Yeah, I could do some more talking maybe.
Jamie wants to say more things, but
I'd like to say a few more things.
Say a few more things. Maybe next time you can introduce the news to me a little bit more.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
We are doing loads more VR, tech, gamey stuff coming up. We should have a video out every day if Jamie does his job.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Except the weekend.
Except weekends,
Exactly. Busy.
Some time off.
Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.